there, beautiful people. I'm Celestine of Ghana Christian International High School. I will encourage you guys to subscribe to this club. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello there. You are welcome to Hiscoff TV. Before we begin with our discussions today, I would like to remind you to subscribe if today is your first time to this channel. This is the only channel where you will get access to history, CRS, government lessons based on the WASI syllabus. Okay, we are also working hard to add more subjects to it. We will add social studies very soon, and then we move on to the sciences as well. We are also going to add the electives from the sciences as well, all based on the WASI syllabus. Beyond that, we also visit historical sites, which we'll be doing very soon. We'll be visiting some historical sites to also educate ourselves. And also, we also look at trending issues. When there is any trending issues in politics, economics, whatsoever, we go back and look at the history behind that trending issue. So we have a whole package for you. Please kindly do us the honor to subscribe and support us. Those who have already done so, we thank you very much for your support. Today, we are looking at the factors for the rise and growth of towns and villages in Ghana. We are still on the first townsmen in Ghana. And this lesson is basically for Form 2 or Year 11 students in SHS level. So in our previous lesson, we looked at the history of certain 4 early towns in Ghana: Edna, Le'Nse, Begho, and the Kumasi Township. And these towns we established that they were pre-colonial towns. They existed before the coming of the Europeans. And we saw that information regarding these towns were very scanty, in the sense that most of the information about these towns were gotten from oral tradition as well as archaeological sources. And we all know that the disadvantage of these sources for the reconstruction of African history is that they give you scanty information. All right. So today we are looking at the factors that enabled the rise and growth of some of these towns in Ghana. Even though in our previous lesson you can fish out or you can point out certain factors that led to the rise of some of the towns, I doubt if you can do that for me. If you had watched that video, kindly do that. Just try and write them down and see if they will reflect in this lesson that we are going to do or look at. Most of these factors that aided the rise and growth of towns in Ghana or in modern day Ghana are basically similar or are basically the same. All right, they run through. So let's begin with the lesson objectives. Our lesson objectives for today will be that by the end of this lesson, you should be able to discuss the factors that led to the rise and growth of towns and villages in Ghana. So what are some of the things that led to the rise and growth of towns in Ghana? Remember in our previous lesson, we said that certain distinct factors led to the rise and growth of these towns. So we are going to take out these factors and then support it with some examples of towns that grew up as a result of the various factors that we are going to look at. So let's begin with the first factor. So the first factor for the growth and rise of towns in Ghana was the strategic location of some of these towns. Interestingly, some of these towns were strategically located. Either they were located on a trade route, either they served as a market center, or they were located in the forest region, whereby they could get access to fertile lands, or they were located probably in a mineral where there was an availability of minerals, or minerals, somehow gold, diamond, whatever, in those areas. And so that is what we are saying. Most of the towns that grew up in Ghana were able to rise because they were located on strategic routes. Let's take example, Kumasi that we looked at. We said that Kumasi was located on 2 major trade routes. One was from Mali, all right, and the other was from the Hausa land. Okay. Now Begho, again, we also established in our previous lesson that Begho was also another town which also developed as a result of its strategic location on the trans-Saharan trade route. It was part of the trans-Saharan trade route in Ghana. Now look at the map on your right hand side. This is Asante. This here, over here. Can you see it? Let me change the color so that you can see the Asante. So this is Asante. This is Asante. That's what you have here. That's what I have circled here. So you realize that there are so many trade routes coming to meet here in Kumasi, right? And then, of course, Begho also, we are saying, was part of the trans-Saharan trade route. So how does these towns situated along the trade route or strategic location enable them to rise? It's as simple. You see, when these towns are strategically located like this, and for instance, if it is a market center, you realize that a lot of people come into the area to trade. And some of these traders tend to build or acquire a land and establish themselves there. All right. When it is also located on the trade route, the same thing, because people will troop in to trade, and trade brings people to the community. And you can't have a community without people. Okay. Now, when there is an availability of minerals somewhere or a fertile land, it also encourages people to stay there because there would be a viable economic activity going on in that area. It encourages people to move in and to settle there. And so the strategic location of some of these towns enable them to rise, as we have said. Good. I hope you understand how strategically these towns will rise when they are located in these strategic areas. Now, another important factor that normally leads to rise of growth of towns in Ghana is inter-ethnic wars. Inter-ethnic wars fought between people, fought between ethnic groups, and these wars were rampant during the pre-colonial times. These wars were rampant in our part of the world here. Whenever there is war, what happens is that some people migrate from their area to go and settle in another area so that they can save themselves the horror of any war. You understand? So frequent wars that had occurred among ethnic groups in Ghana also accounted for the rise and growth of certain towns that we know. When you visit certain towns in Ghana, they are likely to tell you that our forefathers migrated in order to escape a particular war which was fought blah, blah, blah on this date. You understand? And so that is why we are saying that inter-ethnic wars also contributes to the rise and growth of towns in Ghana. Let's take a look at a very important example here. Now, for example, as a result of disputed succession, the Akwemu left Twifo Hemang. So the Akwemu people were actually in Twifo Hemang. They left that area because of some successional disputes which may lead to war. And then they left Twifo Hemang to settle at Asamankese, where they are today. So when you go to the people of the Akwemu people, when you ask them why they came to settle, now they are in Asamankese, they will tell you that because of war, they left Twifo Hemang to settle in Asamankese, and they came to found the Asamankese, the town or the village called today Asamankese. Again, Achim, because of the Achim-Akwemu wars, which occurred somewhere in 1730 to 1733, because of that, the Akwemu also left their land and established a new land in Akwemufie. So Akwemufie also became a capital because of the wars that the Akwemu people were fighting with the Achim. They had to move. So not only these examples, you can have many examples by interacting with some of these knowledgeable people who have in-depth knowledge about their own towns, and you'll be amazing that a lot of the towns emerge as a result of inter-ethnic wars. Good. So you support your example, you support your point with examples. All right. Good. So I hope you are clear with these 2 points. Let's move on to the next point. Now, again, agriculture also played a very important role in the rise and growth of towns and villages in Ghana. Okay. Because agriculture is the backbone of every economy, And so, I mean, I don't think that I can't see a society surviving without agriculture. You understand? And so wherever people found themselves and they realized that the area is fertile for land, the area is good for the rearing of animals, I mean, then they tend to settle there and grow. And this even attracts people to come in there to settle in these areas. Example, excavations in the Accra Plains have shown that there was the pastoral activities involved, and these involved the rearing of cattle, sheep, goat, and what? And fowl. Okay, this factor also led to the origin of ancient towns of Lay and Say in the Dawhenya area. Farming also accounted for the reason why the people also settled in Kumasi. So people will not settle in areas where they can't farm. Okay, and so farming or agriculture in general also led to the rise and growth of some of these towns that we have talked about or in Ghana. Now the next point is trade. Trade also accounted for a large number of towns growing and becoming bigger because of trade. Now, some of these early towns emerged as market centers. So some of them were market centers where people go in there, to trade. Example of such were Manson Kwanta, Abonze, and Begho were all examples of such settlements. Now, copper, gold, and salt, slaves, as well as fish were all items that were traded in. Thus, trade will attract a lot of people to settle in those emerging towns, leading to their rapid growth. All right, and Abonze, Begho, and Manson Kwanta were all noted for market centers. Now, Asesewa, if you can recall, a market day in Asesewa, you realize that Asesewa became very famous because of the trade that was going on in Asesewa. So market centers are mainly becomes very, very large because it attracts a lot of people. People move in there to trade, and that is what we mean by trading. So when you look at the map over here, you see that these were the trade routes in Ghana, and all the towns that you see over there are now famous today because they were a major trade route that people moved in there to trade. Good. I hope you are caught with that. Now let's take a look at the last point, and then we'll bring our discussion to an end. So the last factors that leads to the rise and growth of towns in villages in Ghana is also industry. Okay, so industry in the sense that the people should find themselves doing something. Okay, now when we take, for example, the town Lay and Say area was rich in kaolin clay, which led to pottery work in bowls, pots, jars, and vessels. So the availability of this kaolin clay also attract people to engage in some lucrative economic venture, such as pottery making. Okay, there were also evidence of ivory technology and local ceramics, metallurgy, and of course textiles in these areas or in ancient Begho. You recall I showed you an image of Begho, an excavated port in Begho. That also tells you that the people who lived in Begho were actually involved in these industries. So when these industries are available in a particular area, we are saying that it also encourages people to come in there to settle, okay, because they are able to find themselves doing a viable economic activity. Okay, and that is how most of the towns grew and rose up in Ghana. Good. So I think you have had a very nice discussion. The rain is actually disturbing us today, but we thank God we have come to an end of the discussion. So please kindly subscribe to the channel for more, and we thank you very much for your time. There are more reasons that also accounted for that. If you have any comment or anything to share with us, you can also do that in the comment section. We love you and thank you very much for your support. Have a nice day.